everyone, Andrew here, and today I'm going to be doing a top 5. In celebration of Godzilla vs. Kong coming out this month, I decided I would look at the top 5 best and worst of the Godzilla films. And I was a little hesitant to this, to be honest, because I haven't seen them all. I've seen most of them. I'm missing 4/5 of them because one of them I haven't seen the Japanese or the American version, and they are listed as separate films for some reason. I'm assuming there's a big difference between them, but yeah. And I was a little worried because when I do eventually get to see those, they might alter this list, but I honestly doubt it. There's only like one that I think will breach like my top 5, and I don't think any of them would be as bad as the ones that are in my bottom 5. But the ones I'm missing are Godzilla Raids Again, The Return of Godzilla, Godzilla 1985, Godzilla vs. Biollante, which I hear good things about that one, and Shin Godzilla, which is the most recent Toho one, which I heard very good things about that one. That's the only one where I'm like, that could get into my top 5 if it's as good as everyone says it is. But yeah, I haven't seen those, and if this was as easy to find and easy to get my hands on as like Disney or Pixar, these other ones, I would wait and do it after I'd seen them all. But it took me years to get through the 35 that I have seen, and some of them I've only seen once, so I can't even say that this is 100% like the most accurate list. But I will include in the list below a link to my letterbox list, because I did a list that was the best to worst of Godzilla films, and after I see these films, I will add them into that letterbox, and if one of them ends up being in my top or bottom 5, and I feel like I need to talk about it, I will do another video like this and update the list that way. But yeah, so today I decided I'm going to look at the top 5 worst Godzilla films. So the majority of Godzilla films are kind of meh. Like, you have a couple that are like actually amazing or really good, and you have a handful that are truly terrible, but the majority of them are just kind of, your basic monster film of Godzilla fights X monster, Godzilla wins. But it can have some interesting stuff in it. But these are easily some of the worst, not even like just the worst Godzilla films, some of these are the worst films I've seen. So let's start with number 5. Godzilla vs. Hedorah. Yeah, this is the film where Godzilla fights a literal trash monster. Yeah, no, and it's also the film that's the most obvious of the time frame it was made, because it was released in 1971, but obviously was filmed in the 1960s, because it is hippie 60s as hell. It is just psychedelic, and there's a musical number in the middle using, colors and different things. It's just trippy as hell for that part. It's also one of the more boring Godzilla films. Not a lot goes on. It's a propaganda movie more than anything. It's just, hey, we're polluting the planet with all this trash and throwing trash in the ocean, this, that, and the other. We need to have a message. This one is just kind of like, it could be interesting having a Godzilla fight a monster that's like him, in a sense, that is made from humans' mistakes and mistreatment of nature. Could possibly work, but then you have to remember that he's literally fighting a monster made out of trash. And yeah, there's nothing you're going to be able to do to make that good or compelling. Sorry. Son of Godzilla. I originally had this one much lower on the list, and that was because I was getting it confused with another movie that's about Godzilla's son, kind of. And that film, and though I had to stop and go, okay, wait, if that film is the horrible one I'm thinking of, then what in the world is Son of Godzilla? And Son of Godzilla is kind of basically what the title says it is. It's about Godzilla goes to Monster Island because he feels the call of his child. He finds his child who's being picked on by these giant ant creatures. He rescues said child. He then proceeds to try to raise his child. And if you wanted to see Godzilla as a parent, this is the film for you? I don't know of anyone that wanted that, but I guess somebody must have wanted that. clearly this was intended for children. This was made for children. This was like, so we're gonna have a childlike character to appeal to the children. And Godzilla's son, whose name is Manila, which I hate that name. I really do. I've never liked that name. That's such a bad name. I would rather his name be Zilla, but we saved that for the American Godzilla film from 1998. But yeah, Manila, especially in the Son of Godzilla film, is the ugliest costume I have ever seen. He looks like a mentally challenged Godzilla that has been hit over the head with a rock multiple times. He's ugly to look at. He's whiny. He's a scaredy cat. He's annoying, and which is amazing because he doesn't even talk in this one. I'll get to that. But just the most uninteresting, annoying character. And the human characters are just pointless. They're just there to watch Godzilla raise his son. And it's like, it's only, like, the only redeemable thing in this remotely is some of the interactions between Godzilla and his son. I like Manila trying to play with Godzilla's tail. I thought that was kind of fun. And Godzilla teaching Manila how to use his atomic breath was kind of interesting. But it's also like, this Godzilla has the worst enemies. This is one of the worst. This is some of the most boring enemies in a Godzilla film, because it's basically he's fighting giant ants, and then a little later he fights a giant spider, and that's it. And it's like, well, what's the point? It's like, and it's also like that thing of like, Godzilla, why in the world are you doing all this effort to raise your child? You don't seem like you would be a good parent character. You seem like you would leave your child to survive, and if he doesn't survive, well, that's on him. Don't get me wrong, you can do a version of the story that could be interesting. I mean, look at God of War from the most recent one. It's like you take a character who clearly shouldn't have children and you put him with a somewhat annoying kid and you can do something with that. But that's hard to do with talking characters, let alone silent monster characters, especially if you're trying to dumb it down for children. It's just a bad concept all around. And like there's maybe a version of this that could have been interesting. And I know there's other versions of Manila that are better than this. But this one is just, ugh, yeah. Destroy all monsters. Now this one might give me a little bit of pushback. I know some people that really like this film. And I was reading through some reviews that were very positive at trying to figure out what they liked about it. And the only thing that I got from it was the fact that it has so many of the Godzilla monsters in it. And, okay, I would agree with you. Had any of these been the cool monsters, besides Godzilla and Rodan? For the most part, and I like Godzilla. But then you have Mothra, who I usually like. I like Mothra fully grown. But this isn't Mothra fully grown. This is larva Mothra. And she does nothing, and she never transforms into her full form, so she's just in the way more often than not. And I couldn't even tell you any of the other monsters, because they're all like no-name B or C-list monsters that don't even get their own versus title type of thing. Like, the only one that I kind of remember is they had a dragon-like one that had no wings. But the only reason I remember that is because I remember him. It's like, you are just as useless as Mothra in her larva form. The story itself is pretty simple. Like, aliens come down to Earth. They have mind control devices, and instead of controlling the humans, they decide to control the monsters and use the monsters to destroy the cities. These are some of the worst effects. Just absolutely terrible monster design, monster fights. Like them destroying the sets just look as fake as all get out, and just doesn't remotely have an realm of realism or threat to it. Like, they try to show Mothra as being somewhat dangerous, and it's like, she doesn't do anything. She's sitting on this train railing, and a train runs into her and falls off and blows up. And it's like, oh no, Mothra's destroying the city. It's like, is she really? She's not really doing anything. The train should have seen her and stopped, like, way before. The concept is good. I like the idea of having all the monsters and having them be mind-controlled and used to attack. the world. Like, I think that's something we could do something with. I would not mind a remake of this set with either, like, the legendary series that we have now or the Toho series that we have now, and bring in some of the actual threats from, the Godzilla universe. Imagine if this was Godzilla and Biollante and Space Godzilla and Destroya. And that would have been really interesting and really cool, but this is just real big monsters being shot at by tiny toy tanks and planes, and it's like, at this point in the series, you're like, why do you keep doing that? You guys know that none of that actually hurts them even a little bit, right? You've been firing the stupid tanks at Godzilla for 20 years now, and nothing has even remotely slowed him down. So yeah, overall, it's just a really dull, uninteresting film. This is the one that I keep getting confused with Son of Godzilla, which is All Monsters Attack. Yeah, everything about this movie is terrible. Like, everything. Absolutely everything about it. First off, it's a clip show. Like, they didn't film anything new of anyone in the Godzilla suits. It is just the old snip clips from old movies mixed into this plot. To be fair, there's a bunch of movies that have tried to do this, and this is actually one of the slightly better attempts. This might possibly have worked had the plot not been as grown and pain-inducing, because takes place the entire story is centered around a Japanese kid who is being bullied, and he dreams at night about Godzilla and especially Manila, and they teach him how to deal with bullies. And it is as tedious and stupid and ugly as it sounds. Plus, they give Manila a voice in this one, and I swear he sounds like Danny DeVito, and it's just the worst. Like, this character is annoying enough silent. The last thing I want is to have him sound like an old freaking man talking to this child. Ugh. And again, I get that we were trying to make Godzilla child-friendly, which is kind of weird and interesting considering you started off with Godzilla being this response to, the use of nuclear armaments and his nature getting revenge on us for our sins, to let's have child-friendly things. Like, it doesn't really mesh, but a lot of franchises do this, unfortunately. And it's like, if any series could have done it and got away with it, Godzilla is probably one of the few that could, a lot of them are fun, even if they are kid-friendly. But this one is just so ugly and so badly done and so annoying. The worst thing in any Godzilla film ever is the annoying kid who will not shut up. And that's the main character of this damn film. Is the annoying kid that will not shut up. There's almost nothing about it to like. The only stuff that's kind of interesting is the reused footage. And that saved them money, so yay, good on Toho for saving money. I would have rather you just not made the film if you were that strapped for cash, but that's just me. I don't know. I'm pretty sure there are people that defend this one. It also kind of sucks that this one is so close in title to the previous one, Destroy All Monsters. Because they sound like they go together. And I almost paired these two together when I didn't remember what the plot of this movie actually was. It's also, like, just super inferior to Destroy All Monsters. Because at least Destroy All Monsters, you have a nice variety of monsters to see. It's like, in this one, you get ugly Manila, mostly ugly Godzilla, and then occasionally, like, I know there's, like, 2 or 3 frames where he fights King Ghidorah or something, but it's just not worth it. And seeing as bullying is still a huge problem in America and the world, I don't think this film actually helped anyone with its message of anti-bullying. And it's just like, I completely understand why this is some people's worst. It's pretty close to being mine, but in the last year, I watched one that really, really overtook this as being even worse, and I didn't even think that was possible. But before that one, let's do some dishonorable mentions. For the most part, I don't have too many Godzilla films that I would count as dishonorable mentions. So, like, the one that comes to mind immediately, if I was going to go, like, which one almost made the list and was really close, was Godzilla versus Megaguirus, the G Extermination Strategy, and is it full title? So this was done in 2000. It was one of the first Godzilla films to use CGI. So Godzilla starts off by fighting like 1,000 of these ugly bug creatures that look fake as hell, even more so than the puppets and all the other stuff I've ever looked. And then they all combine to make this one big version of it or something. I almost fell asleep during this film. It was so boring and so dull, and the CGI is just so ugly it actually kind of hurts to look at. I will give it some credit. The idea of Godzilla fighting like hundreds of a smaller monster and then eventually it forms to become a bigger monster is actually not bad. I kind of liked it. It was an interesting idea. If the effects had been better, that might have worked a little better. And I would love to see that redone with, the better animation, better thought process, and better story. But there's something there that could work. This version just done nothing for me. I would include both of the original King Kong versus Godzillas from the 1960s, both the English and the Japanese versions of it. Um, Mostly because I hate the King Kong design in this. He just looks ugly as hell, and it's super serious in some ways and super goofy in other ways, and just doesn't really balance well. And it doesn't really do much of anything for me. I mean, it's really cool to see this clash of an American character and a Japanese character colliding, but it I don't think it's that good a film. And then we have the first American attempt at Godzilla, Godzilla '98. And yeah, this film's terrible. I will not deny that. It's like this one feels like the American bastardization of a truly interesting foreign film. I'm usually a Matthew Broderick defender. I tend to like him in movies, and I don't tend to think of him as really bad in that. He is not very good in this, and I think the rest of the cast is worse. Like, no one helps him look better. The only actor doing anything remotely good in this is Jean Reno, and that's just because Jean Reno is freaking awesome. Yeah, the story isn't good. The way it's shot isn't interesting. It's way too dark. It's too hard to figure out what's going on. The one thing I kind of do like about this is the Godzilla design. I actually do kind of like the fact that they made him a little bit more lizard-like. They made him a little different. It allowed us to, it allowed it to stand out and be different from the original design without, going too far away. But I know a lot of people hate that design, and I know, like, Japan really hated that design. Like, they spent a good time mocking it and insulting it for what it is. But, it makes sense, especially if you're trying to ground it a little bit more. And it's the use of tying it back into nuclear testing and having it be a lizard that got mutated kind of works, and I kind of like parts of it. I liked the ads, actually, when this came out. So, like, the ads that came out for this made that movie look amazing back in '98. And I actually saw this in a drive-in, and it was my first Godzilla film that I'd ever seen. And that might be why I'm a little bit more forgiving of it than some other people are. I'm not, like, I believe the first to say it's not a great film, but I still like that Godzilla design. I still think there's some interesting stuff. I still have this shirt that I got. Yeah, I'm like, this isn't that bad a design. I still like this shirt. I still think it's a cool design. It does not fit me. And legitimately, the only reason I have it is I put it on a stuffed gorilla, and then I just never took it off that stuffed gorilla, so that's the only reason that shirt is still in really good condition, considering it's 23 years old now at this point. But, I remember seeing it in theaters, in the drive-in, and it was so dark that you couldn't see almost anything in the dang movie. But I still remember seeing Godzilla's eye, because, like, this was in Washington State. It was pouring rain. And, like, but that kind of actually added to it, because when you got to Godzilla in the rain, and we were actually having it rain, it's kind of like you almost get that 3D effect, like, whoa, this is almost spot on. But yeah, I remember I watched that, and I watched it as a double feature with Men in Black, and yeah, even then I preferred Men in Black. I thought Men in Black was way better, but still, I remember it, and I enjoyed it. I still acknowledge it's a terrible film, but it had some moments. It could have been worse. I do appreciate the fact, though, that we got a second chance at it, and that we got Legendary to do it, and I honestly think they did a really good job with that. And in fact, I may talk about them a little bit in the next video. But let's move on to my number 1 worst Godzilla film. My number 1 worst Godzilla film is actually 3 films. But it's 3 films that are tied together into one, and that is the Godzilla anime. That being Planet of the Monsters, City on the Edge of Battle, and The Planet Eater. Anime was created by Toho Animation and Polygon Pictures, with help from Netflix. It is basically, they took an idea and they split it into 3 animated films that are all about an hour and 45 to 2 hours long. And they are easily the worst Godzilla films I've ever made. For starters, they are done in this 3D animation style that works very good for machines and fight sequences, but is really terrible for creature design and humans' characters. To choose this art style in a movie where you primarily have characters talking and then a creature comes and they have to fight it, why? Why would you choose this art style? This is the worst art style for this anime. So yeah, it's off. It's ugly. All of the human designs are ugly. All of the creature designs is ugly. I know there's people that defend this Godzilla design. I cannot stand this Godzilla design. I think it's ugly as hell. Like, they tried to make him look like a mountain, which is okay, but for me, he doesn't look like he's there. He looks like this is a toy. This looks like he's made out of plastic, like one of the, it looks like they literally just filmed the plastic toy. And there's even a point in the 3rd film where Godzilla turns to look at something, and he doesn't do like a normal turn. He does a full body turn for no reason, so it literally looked like he went, they spun the toy. And it's just like, really? Just really. The plot of this series is basically Godzilla showed up. He wreaked havoc on the entire planet. They receive help from 2 alien races, one known as the Exif, who are extremely religious and try to get everyone to believe in their god. And then you have the Bureau Serrato, who are these technologically advanced people who try to make a Mechagodzilla to fight off Godzilla, but it ends up not being able to activate and gets damaged before they can even use it. Even with the help of 2 alien species, we still got our asses royally handed to us, and the entire planet had to escape. So the entire human race is on one giant ship traveling into deep space to find a new planet. And they are running out of resources, and they come to the realization, we don't have enough supplies to make it to a habitable planet. And so they decide to sacrifice their old people to give them more supplies, which leads to our main character going crazy and threatening to blow up the entire ship if they kill his grandfather. And his grandfather's like, I'm old, stop it, you moron, let me die. So they decide, okay, we cannot go forward. We can, however, do a speed jump back and make it back to Earth. But however, if we do that, we have to deal with Godzilla. And they're like, well, someone did come up with a plan to defeat Godzilla, and it was that crazy kid who threatened to blow us up if we killed the old people. And so you get introduced to our main character, Captain Sakai, and this is one of the worst main characters in any of the Godzilla films. He is because he doesn't come off like a protagonist. He comes off like the crazy general who will sacrifice his entire squadron to get a victory. So his plan is basically we're going to use cannons to match Godzilla's frequency, because Godzilla in this version can create a protective layer that keeps him from getting damaged. So we're going to shoot at him with lasers until we can match that frequency, and then we'll shoot him from behind and kill him. So they do the jump to get back to Earth. They manage to make it to Earth, but they have now flung themselves forward in time 1900 years. So they're like, oh good, that means Godzilla should be dead by now. And it's like, nope, we see him on the surface. Dang it. Alright, get the kid out of holding. We're going to use his plan. Don't put him in charge, just let him be there to strategize it. Alright, so they go down, and their plan is to do this to Godzilla. They try, they fail immediately. But the Captain Sakurai is like, no, we can do it. I'm taking over, I'm taking full control, we're gonna do this. I don't care how many troops I have to sacrifice, we are killing Godzilla. I can do this. Okay, so they manage to actually succeed and kill this Godzilla. However, that is not Godzilla. If anything, that was probably Manila. Because Godzilla pops up and he is gigantic. At this point, he is a planet-destroying size. Wipes out the entire, well, almost the entire human forces in a single shot. And the last thing you kind of see is the main character going, "No, we can still do it! We can kill Godzilla!" As he's getting dragged away from the destroyed battlefield. It's like, ugh. And if you're wondering, Godzilla is in exactly the last 5 minutes of this film. I'm not counting the first part, because that's not Godzilla, that's clearly like Manila. For everyone that complains about Legendary's, 2014 Godzilla, there's not enough Godzilla in that film. That's nothing to complain about. It could be way less. And then you get into film 2, and it's like, they run into a tribe of natives on Earth who have these twin girls that are important to the town. And it's like, okay, these look like the twins that summoned Mothra. Does that mean we get to see Mothra in this? No. She shows up in a dream sequence in the third film, and that's it. So, and then it's like, what's the point of the twins? Why do they exist in this? They're there for eye candy. That's literally, I think, the only reason they exist. And one of the two alien races that are with them is like, oh, hey, we're near the site that Mechagodzilla was supposed to be. We were building him for you, but then we got attacked, and we were never able to fully sanction him. Maybe we can rebuild him and use him to destroy this. So they go to the area where Mechagodzilla is supposed to be, and the entire area is encased in metal. And it turns out that Mechagodzilla was made with nanites, and those nanites had leaked out and spread, and now Mechagodzilla is a city. Instead of fighting a actual Mechagodzilla, Godzilla in this film is going to fight a city that doesn't transform or do anything that's actually really that interesting. And I could tell from the second they started introducing the idea of this thing that I'm like, because they're like, oh yeah, we have to sacrifice our brains to the machine to activate it, to get it stronger and make it so it's able to defeat Godzilla. And I'm like, and it's just like, and it'll just keep spreading and spreading. I'm like, that's going to destroy the planet in days. That thing's more dangerous than Godzilla is. Godzilla has left the planet mostly alone, whereas this thing will clearly destroy all life on the planet within a week or so. Sakaki has a half a second moment going, maybe we shouldn't sacrifice everyone to stop Godzilla. And then immediately drops that and is like, oh no, we can go do this, yeah. Do whatever it takes. Lord Rosado sacrificed everyone that has entered the city and starts taking them over to power the city to make it so they can kill Godzilla. And Sakaki gets a girlfriend for this film for a total of maybe 10 minutes until she is infected by the thing and it starts to kill her. And Sakaki goes, oh, maybe this is a bad idea. We should stop this. And then he proceeds to destroy Mechagodzilla to keep it from killing everybody. Godzilla is in this for about 10 minutes this time. It's still not great. It's just him. He shows up, he fires a couple blasts, and that's about all he does. I will be fair to the second film. The second film isn't as terrible as the first two. I would actually say it was even better than All Monsters Attack. Because there's a couple things in this that almost sort of start to work. Like, the dialogue gets a smidge better. It's still terrible. Like, the main problem with the series is the dialogue and the way it's written and the way it's told. And to be fair, I did watch it dubbed, but I don't think it's necessarily dubbed. I think it's just the bad, terrible writing. Because literally, the majority of the conversations in all three films are, oh, blank is happening. Why is blank happening? And the answer is always Godzilla, Mechagodzilla, or Ghidorah. It's one of the three. And it's so annoying that they ask those questions every 5 seconds. Like, oh, it's like, why didn't the attack hurt him? Because he's Godzilla. Oh, why does he have so much power? Because he's Godzilla. It's like, it's just the dumbest dialogue. Just absolutely terrible writing. So we get into the third film. And the third film is so bad on its own that it made me question if there was ever any good Godzilla films. Like, it was so god-awful that I literally... The entire reason I created that list of Godzilla best to worst was to remind myself, oh no, there are actually good Godzilla films. This hasn't been a complete and utter waste of your life. You did, however, waste 4.5 hours watching the worst anime ever made. But we get on to the third one, and the Exif aliens, the religious ones, have convinced the humans that, oh, we survived Mechagodzilla because of our god. So you need to all be willing to sacrifice yourself to our god so that we can summon him to destroy Godzilla. The fact that the humans fall for this proves how stupid they are. The leader of Exif is a boy named Metaphys, and he uses the souls and desires of these humans to summon his god to this world, who is Ghidorah. Unlike in the other ones where it's a three-headed dragon with wings and does that, this time they are three space worms. That's the only way I can really describe them. They are just giant space worms from another dimension. On the plus side, we get to see a lot more of Godzilla in this. On the negative side, he uses one atomic breath. It fails because apparently Ghidorah is immune to damage from our dimension because he's from another dimension. Which, I would love someone to explain the logic behind that, because geez Louise, that made no sense. Then Ghidorah proceeds to do its one attack, which is it bites Godzilla in 3 separate spots and holds it in place while slowly draining its energy. So congratulations, we get more of Godzilla in this film, and he spends 95% of it in one position with 3 dragons biting him, and he doesn't move or do anything. Jeez, oh yeah, I forgot. There's a whole subplot in this where Captain Sakaki is mourning his girlfriend from the second film, who is in a coma due to the attack from Mechagodzilla, and then the 2 twins from the tribe try to seduce Sakaki for no reason, and he barely says no. Like, I would not be surprised if he said no once and then immediately had sex with either of them, or both of them. Like, jeez. Our hero, ladies and gentlemen. So he goes to stop Metaphys. Metaphys stops him, and then Metaphys proceeds to do a half-hour-long monologue about how Ghidorah showed up on his planet, and they had to sacrifice their planet to appease Ghidorah, and why they chose Earth. Captain Sakaki must give in and let Ghidorah absorb him so that they can kill Godzilla and then destroy the Earth. Again, much like Mechagodzilla, that sounds way worse than anything Godzilla has done in this film. At least Godzilla left the planet alone. Like, jeez Louise. They end up actually stopping Metaphys, and that ends up stopping Ghidorah, and Godzilla kills Ghidorah. The humans then have to come to terms with living with Godzilla and join the tribe and learn to live the same way they do. And Captain Sakaki is all for telling people to do this. And then one night, he goes out, he takes his ship with his girlfriend, who's still in her coma from Mechagodzilla, in his lap, and then proceeds to take pot shots at Godzilla until Godzilla turns to look at him. And then he dives headfirst towards Godzilla's head, waiting for Godzilla to open up and kill him with an atomic blast. Which Godzilla does. So, our main character just committed suicide for no reason. What was the frickin' point of this entire freaking movie? What? Ugh. Characters are terrible. The main character is one of the worst things. Like, he's not as bad as All Monsters Attack's little kid that needs to learn how to deal with bullies, but he is down there. Like, he is almost as bad as those annoying brats. The animation is ugly. The story is terrible. The acting is bad. The characters are stupid. It's mind-numbingly boring. Godzilla's in less of this movie than he is in any of the other movies. And it's 4.5 hours long! Why would I want to watch a 4.5 hour movie where nothing happens? Jeez. It's the worst character designs. It's the worst Mechagodzilla, because it's a city. It's just a normal-looking metal city. It's the worst Ghidorah design. It's not the worst Godzilla design. That would probably be Son of Godzilla, where he has those painted-on eyeballs, but it's still up there as being absolutely terrible. I will give the second film some credit. So, if you look at the list that I did, I have City on the Edge of Battle just above All Monsters Attack. But that one is kind of like the bologna in a sandwich. Bologna in the middle, and that bologna was okay-ish. but I still had to eat a sandwich to taste the bologna, and it's not worth it. Like, the second one starts to get a little better. The animation isn't quite as ugly. The story gets a little more interesting. The characters grow a little bit. But all of that is undone by the third film. I don't know why they chose to do an anime version, and I don't know why they chose to do it this way. It's just so badly dumb, and so badly written, and so badly put together. And it's like the thing of you're doing a Godzilla anime. You don't have to worry about people in suits. You can just have Godzilla fighting monsters the entire freaking time. Why don't you just have Godzilla fighting monsters the entire freaking time? Like, we don't even have to do that much of the human stuff. We can make this work. Instead, you choose to do the same thing every other freaking Godzilla movie does, where Godzilla's in less than 40% of the film, and does nothing, and has one attack, and doesn't do anything of interest, and we're stuck with these terrible human characters that are completely boring, or stupid, or uninteresting, and it's really sad, because there's a better, version of an animated Godzilla film, and that's the cartoon that came after the 1998 American Godzilla. That cartoon isn't even that great, but it's a much, much better Godzilla anime than this freaking thing is. Just nothing in this is remotely good in any way, shape, or form. And I went through reviews. I found a couple people that were praising this thing, and I read through their review, and I couldn't tell if they were being sarcastic or not. Because it sounded like it. Like, they were like, it has such good ideas, and it's such a good look into the Godzilla stuff. And I'm like, no, it's terrible. What the hell are you talking about? And yeah, no, if you liked the Godzilla anime, please tell me in the comments below why. What about it did you like? Because I found nothing to like about this whatsoever. It's one of those films, and I've watched some trash, and I can usually walk away with it going, well, that was terrible, but at least it was something. The films that end up on my list, the ones that I really hate, are the films that I walk away and I just go, I just wasted an hour and a half of my life. I wasted 2 hours of my life. But with this, I wasted 4.5 hours of my life on this bullshit. There are so many worse films I would rather watch again before I would ever watch this. Like, you could convince me to watch Dougal and Super Baby Geniuses 2 again before I will ever touch Godzilla anime again. Like, God. Is it the worst thing I've ever seen? Sadly, no. Because this should be, because this is really high up there. But, nothing is really, there's not too much out there that's going to beat Santa sitting on a beach for an hour and a half. But this one is just that thing of it had potential. You could have done so much with an anime Godzilla. And you chose to do nothing. You chose to do what you could have easily done with a live-action cast. Freaking stupid. And I was warned. Again, I keep watching these films that people are like, this is terrible. And I go, I should watch that. But, yeah, no. There's a gentleman that I really like that he created the Super Best Friends and the Two Best Friends Play. And he does his own channel now, which is Matt McMuscles. And he did a full hour-and-a-half review of the Godzilla anime. And he said it was like the worst Godzilla thing ever. And me being me, I went, well, I have to confirm that. And I 100% agree. It is the worst Godzilla thing ever. I would watch any of the other films in this list 6 more times before I would watch any one of these 3 again. If I was given the choice of you can only watch one film for the rest of your life, and it between Godzilla, the Monsters trilogy, and All Monsters Attack, I would choose All Monsters Attack. That's how terrible. I would rather watch a clip show, because at least the clip show has scenes from better movies. Jeez Louise. I would rather have the annoying brat than deal with an entire cast of annoying characters from this. Absolute trash, as far as I'm concerned. And that was my bottom 5. And I went on a tangent with that last one. That last one really pissed me off. I have, I'm, I'm gonna include them below is that list that I did was Godzilla Best to Worst. If you want to click through and look at my reviews on there, I reviewed all 3 of these Godzilla animes, and yeah, no, I just hated them, and I'm happy to share that hate with you, because if I have to suffer through this, you should too. Or I'm hoping you don't have to, because you watch this and go, nope, never watching that crap. Please, save yourselves. But yeah, let me know what you all think. Is there a Godzilla film that you really liked that I listed? Is Godzilla All Monsters Attack actually secretly the best thing ever made? Do you love the anime series? Do you want to argue with me that this is the best designed, best made Godzilla film ever done? I'd love to hear someone try to explain to me how this is remotely good, please. I'll be doing the top 5 bests a little bit later this month, or this week, or whenever I can manage to get to it. Until then, happy watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye!